All right, friends, now that you have listened to the read aloud of Turtle in the Sea, I'm going to break it down for you so that it can help you as you write your nonfiction narrative. Remember, the elements of your nonfiction narrative are very similar to the elements you noticed in this text. So I would like for you to take a moment and kind of look through this text with me as we analyze what does this text, this nonfiction narrative have that I'm also going to include in my nonfiction narrative. So the very beginning of the text starts with the exposition. Remember, the exposition in a text tells us some background information about the habitat of the creature, or the setting in this case, which is the habitat of the creature. It also tells us a little bit about the character, in this case, the animal. Another thing I want to point out is the descriptive details used in the text itself. So, salty sea, blue-green waves. A turtle flies in a water sky. This is really important because this kind of language is what makes the text really come to life. A couple more examples. We've got things like, she is large and heavy. We've got the time of day, which is midnight here. Okay, we've got dry, loose sand. The picture as well is connected to the text here in a lighthouse beam. And so the author/illustrator chose to create a lighthouse to add to that text. Okay. Also describing the way the turtle looks with many marks and scars, and they shine brightly on her shell. All right, so here's where we start to come into the conflicts. Okay, so it's kind of like a flashback because it says long ago, which is fine. This is like a flashback in the story. This is what she was doing. She was drifting lazily in the sun above the coral reef when here's our first conflict. She is attacked by a shark. Of course, that's not the end of the story, so the turtle's going to escape and heal. This also points out some of the things that the turtle has to survive. She is able to hide because she can hold her breath. She has a shell. Yes, it was scarred, but she stayed alive. So these are her defense mechanisms. And then here we come up to another conflict in the story. A boat comes along and kind of knocks her down into the water some more as she's looking for food, which again, that's another one of her survival techniques or defense mechanisms. She's eating a jellyfish, and then this conflict happens. And then, of course, she doesn't, succumb to her injuries. Her shell is cracked and broken, yes, but there she's able to heal. And I love that it says, in peace and quiet. And the picture really does show some peace and quiet. All right, and then again, we've got another conflict here with our water spout. And the illustrator did a beautiful job of making the turtle look scientific, but also giving it facial expressions to make it look fearful of this conflict. Okay? And yet again, she's kind of experiencing what's happening in the water spout, caught up in the swirling water, dropped back down into a raging sea, tumbled, tossed. These are really beautiful pieces of descriptive language that uses those sensory details. Remember the 5 senses to help us really connect deeper to the text. All right, so we're here at the climax. This is the most exciting part of the story. So we've got those descriptive details here, sharp-edged bits. She's nicked and scratched. Murky water, and then here we are with our net. She didn't see the net, kind of leaves us on a cliffhanger. And then, oh my goodness, she is scooped up and captured. Now this is the climax because of all the things that have happened to the turtle, the most uncertain thing is what's going to happen once she's been captured. I also want to point out a few things here. A rush of bubbles and sunlight yanked up out of the water. That language really helps us to understand the kind of scariness that's happening to this turtle. But then, thank goodness, with our falling action, the fisherman was kind. He took his fish, but, and I love this, gently he untangled the turtle from his net and let her go. So this is when our falling action starts to happen, when we start to move towards the resolution, which is, you know, the turtle is laying her eggs. So more falling action tells us she survived it all, kind of recaps. She survived the sharks, boats, storms, and nets. So kind of recapping in that falling action. And then just a beautiful illustration. And then we come to our resolution where, you know, it's not the end of her life or anything like that, but it's the start of a new generation of turtles. So it tells us, as she's done so many times before, she lays her eggs, covers them with sand. Again, this is one of the ways that turtles survive. It's the turtle way to lay their eggs in the sand. So this is another example of the turtle's survival techniques or defense mechanisms. And then, of course, with our conclusion, we see the turtles climbing and crawling into the ocean. This piece is really beautiful. The sun will mother them with warmth. The sand will keep them safe. So this is a phrase, of course, the sun is not really their mother, but it's keeping them warm since the mother turtle doesn't stay behind to stay on the eggs like a bird would or something. And then I love this ending, so sweet. Tiny flippers to propel them, tiny shells protecting, tiny eyes to see their world, tiny turtles in the sea. So this is, again, our resolution because now the next generation of turtles is in the sea. So remember, when you're writing your own nonfiction narratives about your animal's defense mechanisms, write it as if you were publishing this book for somebody. The way that Jim Arnosky published Turtle in the Sea. Make the illustrations come to life. Color from top to bottom. Beautiful scientific illustrations. He still even gave them facial expressions without making them too cartoonish. So I just want to remind you guys that these are some of the things that I'm expecting from you as authors and writers, is to give me those descriptive details, make it look scientific and realistic, but also beautiful. And the good news is, I know you can. All right, friends, I cannot wait to see what you come up with. Remember, this is an example. You don't need to copy it directly by any means, but I do want to see you using those descriptive details, those multiple conflicts, the climax, and then, of course, the falling action and resolution. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful day.